welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. Today is Sunday, June 12th, 2022. This is going to be the astro weather for the week ahead from June 12th through the 19th. Welcome. I hope everybody's doing well, enjoying your Sunday. Thanks for your patience with me getting this out. All these transits in Taurus still, I'm like, I'm going to take my sweet time. The big news of the week is we are going to see Venus in Taurus come into conjunction with the North Node. That's what we're going to talk a lot about today. If you guys have not already seen it, I actually did a Venus-Uranus conjunction video where I take you through the steps of Venus's conjunction to Uranus, then the North Node, and a square to Saturn. Very karmic week or so ahead, guys. There's going to be lots of change going on in regards to our senses, what feels good, tastes good, and more or less there's this sense of coming into contact with new kind of karmic relationships, destined relationships, fated encounters. Our values and our sense of personal pleasure is changing, but could it be at a karmic cost? That's the big question mark that I have. This week we're learning all about finding harmony and balance with our spiritual and also our material worlds, right? So when we think about all of these conjunctions with Venus and Taurus, it's a third dimension, right? How we feel. Are we full? Do we have enough food? Do we have enough money? Are we feeling grounded? Do we feel secure? How do we feel in our bodies, right? Taurus can kind of be like a little sluggish, or there can be this sense of getting too comfortable. So we're going to be reevaluating where we're comfortable this week, where it's good to indulge a little bit, especially when it is for personal pleasure or personal value, maybe even our self-esteem. It's about having healthy self-esteem. So with Venus kind of dancing with Uranus this weekend, it's been a little weird and wacky. Lots of like pattern changes, right, with relationships, sexual innovation, changes with what we're wearing, our relationships. There's been shakeups going on all weekend long. I think you guys have been hearing about it also in the markets. It's just been like a bloodbath. Very Venus-Uranus, right? So now, later this week, we're going to see Venus kind of dance on the North Node, and that is opening us up to our future, right? The North Node is like this strange and kind of mysterious placement. It talks about where we're going, but it's very unpredictable, as is Uranus as well. So we're inching closer over the summer to this North Node Uranus conjunction. Venus being there now is kind of upending everything, saying like, what if we did things completely different, right? So this week, I think we want to think about our environment and also be aware of what we're attracting, because Venus North Node wants to create harmony in relationships and society. We want to feel like everything is kind of harmonious and comfortable. So I want everybody to be thinking this week about how you can bring in more harmony, more love, more abundance, more comfort. And that's not limited to just food and money, okay? Because Taurus is very simple. Taurus is very natural. I'm trying to do all this stuff too as well. Just getting really simple with like what I'm eating and trying to eat whole foods, know what I'm eating, making things from scratch, not trying to eat stuff that's like processed. I'm super hyper aware right now of like sugar and like what is natural sugar versus sugar that can be like refined and something that's like not good for me personally. A little bit of a sugar monster. And I think for many of us, we can find that we're also looking at, well, what is this material made of, right? Is it organic cotton or is it synthetic? That's like a real good kind of example. And what's unusual is that the North Node does have this Uranian kind of connection though, because it's unpredictable and it's strange. There can be a sense of this week trying things that we didn't know that we would like. It's like, wow, I didn't think I would like that, but I actually really like that. I like the way it smells. I like the way it tastes. So be creative, be innovative when it comes to kind of switching up anything in regards to the Taurus realm in general. Taking chances can kind of come up also, because people can come into our lives. Venus can be relationships that just show up very suddenly, and we're being kind of called to kind of rise to the occasion and step into the destiny of what would life be like if we felt secure, if things were calm, if they were stable, if it wasn't chaotic, right? The polarity of this is the South Node in Scorpio. So there's this undoing going on right now, releasing and letting go of pain, not feeling like we have enough, anything in regards to like being in debt, anything in regards to fears about the future, trauma, anything of that nature. Codependence comes up a lot also as well. So I think that when I catch myself kind of spiraling, being like, oh my God, what if this, and this happens? The first thing I'm trying to like retrain my mind to do is go, but what if it works out, right? But what if that isn't the worst case scenario? What if I like it? What if it ends up being an adventure? So there is this need to restructure and repattern the way we respond to kind of like chaotic events or even like trauma or fear. We're getting hit hard still with the Saturn square. So Venus at the end of her, conjunction, and then also her conjunction to the North Node, she's going to square off with Saturn. So there is karmic repercussions, right? Now, Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, these deal with financial placements. They deal with our money versus the money we owe. Saturn in Aquarius deals with like what's going on collectively. So because of collective limitations, obviously, we're seeing a rise of our need to focus more on our own personal finances. Everybody's kind of paying the cost right now for inflation, whether you're filling up your gas tank or you're going to the grocery store, what have you. So collectively, there is a sense of having to reorganize and restructure what we value, what we're putting money into, and learning to simplify. And because these are signs that deal very much with the third dimension, Taurus is money in your hand, right? Dirt on the ground, the things you plant, the things you eat. There is some kind of repercussions that are going on from this South Node in Scorpio. So like as we release things, we have physical changes. As we release trauma, we can have physical changes in our body, right? We can fluctuate in weight, we can get healthier, we can eat differently. So there is this sense of like, as we're clearing out all of the stuff in the Scorpio South Node, we physically embody it. So a good practice that you're going to have this week is a lot of like sitting and meditating on how you want things to feel, how you want your body to feel, how it feels to buy your first home, how it feels to be able to pay off all your debt, how it feels to be in a secure relationship. And a lot of us are going to have to be reworking that because we see Saturn in Aquarius making the square. So it's the need to upgrade. It doesn't matter which way I cut it all year long. I keep seeing this reoccurrence of like Saturn being like, hi, I'm still here in the background because the squares, the conjunctions, all of that stuff. What's nice this week also is that we are also going to see that we are, going to be experiencing this full moon in Sagittarius. I'm a bit more of a realist. Like I'm not going to candy coat, some of the lunations and the transits. This full moon, if you guys didn't see my video, has a pretty strong square to Neptune. So even though a Sagittarius full moon is generally optimistic, right? It's positive, it's moving. We see lots of change going on, travel, education, stuff in regards to what's being published or what we're learning about or anything in regards to the legal system. It's a positive sign, right? Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So when we look at this lunation, we do want to look at Jupiter, but really what we're noticing about this is that Neptune is the star of the show, as is Pluto. They're sitting on two very important midpoints. So as we have this full moon, it's this climax of events, of things that we've been working on in regards to our beliefs in the bigger picture, really since the end of 2021. Anyway, before I get too deep into that, just know there's a video on it. Neptune definitely has a big piece of, of the puzzle kind of being factored into this, where Neptune is saying, hey, in order for you to, get to that new belief system, we got to dissolve all of the stuff that's going on for you in the ethers, right? We got to dissolve the fears, the paranoia, the sleep issues. There is some sense of almost like being eclipsed out. It's going to create a mutable T-square. So mutable T-squares bring up issues with communication, and we can see that there's almost this distortion of how things look or how things sound. So you really want to take a look at not just where the full moon is in your chart, but you also want to look at where Neptune is as well. So this week, I want to give you guys a couple tips just before we even get into the week ahead. And I want to talk to you a little bit about just some recommendations to really get grounded, because the North Node is in Taurus. It's going to be about embodiment and what we physically feel, what we hold and we experience. So I'm going to make some recommendations for crystals and also herbs, if that's something that you like to do. I believe that, a really important part of an astrological practice is not just predicting and telling people what's going to happen, but giving them tools, talking to them about how transits are going to go, how to move through those transits, what you can incorporate in your daily routine to be more comfortable in some of the fluctuations that's going on, but also to be able to be prepared. So when these energies come in, we know how to handle them, right? So we got to get physical. So I would recommend, if you're like a crystal, if you're a crystal hound, working with like opal, rose quartz, nirvana quartz, emerald, malachite, and lapis. These are great stones to be working with in regards to all of these Taurus energies. Strong connections to Venus, strong connections to Taurus, or the throat chakra, because that's what Taurus rules, right? Communication. So you can be working with stones that are just specifically associated with the throat chakra if you want. Certainly, like, I like lapis or chrysocolla for that. I think that that's really wonderful, and being able to even do any channeling, or if you're doing any singing or any speaking, or if you're really focused on chanting, wonderful stones to work with. If you're wanting to go more the kind of more Venus side of this, I would say definitely opal, rose quartz, emerald. If you have some emeralds, peridot can be something that you can use as well. Even though I do believe that's kind of like a mercurial stone. Mercury is going, to be back in Gemini, so we've got a couple things working in both directions. So if you have some peridot, you can use that. Whether you want to meditate with the stones, you want to wear it around your neck, that can be something, keeping it on you just to help stay grounded in the midst of some of these transits this week. Now, some of the gifts of Taurus in general, and when we see these Venus North Node conjunctions, it gives us the opportunity to be more resourceful. So, Taurus is about resources, grounding and centering our body also in knowledge, body knowledge, how my body should feel, how my body should move, long-term planning and consistent, stable energy. So if you're looking for something a little bit more grounding, right, this can be a wonderful time to work with stones, a wonderful time to also be in nature, right? Plant a garden, start putting the seeds out, although it might be a little late in some parts. But if you're planning for a fall garden, or if you're just wanting to landscape, or even just take a mud bath, do a face mask, go and get your hands in the dirt, things like that can be wonderful as well. And rituals that are associated with Taurus, or anything that are connecting to body positivity, right? And I'm not talking about flaunting it. That's not really, it's not about being like, oh, look at this naked person. Like, Taurus is very much like looking at a sculpture, of an ancient Roman god, and you just can just stand there and admire the figure and the quality and the craftsmanship that went into creating that structure. It's like, oh my God, it's beautiful. So looking at Venus, and Venus is about the body, it's about embracing the body as it is, right? Self-love, loving yourself at any size, any age, any situation, and how much we learn from learning to love our bodies the way that they are, and not feeling like we need to be comparing them to other people. That's the square to Saturn. Also, sensuality, fertility, anything relating to rituals of fertility. If you're into like the fertility knots, if you're wanting to do anything revolving around being able to grow abundance, grow a garden, or getting pregnant, these can be things that come up also with Taurus type energy. Successful long-term planning, especially if you're focusing on art or business endeavors. Taurus does have this side also for strategizing and creating a plan and kind of sticking to it, right? So if you're wanting to rearrange finances, if you're wanting to focus on really structuring something, building something, this is also a wonderful time to do that as well. Material investments, that's very Venus and Taurus, right? Like, what do I have? The challenge is there's a little bit of like a test from the universe going on. It's kind of like a sick joke. The North Node in Venus is like, yes, eat all the chocolate cake, like get all the expensive designer handbags, like more. It's about consumption. As it comes into a square with Saturn in the days following, it's going to be like, ugh, that wasn't really fulfilling. I can only connect it to really wanting something, and then once you get it, you're like underwhelmed. I don't know if you guys have had that experience, but it's like, wow, I didn't really think I wanted it so bad, and now I got it, and like, ugh, I don't know how I feel about it. That can be the feeling that we get later in the week. So we want to get simple, right? So it's less about things, it's more about how we feel. Pay attention to how you feel and what you're eating. Pay attention to how you feel if you're, shopping, or if you're spending, and it's like, are you doing that because you're trying to fill a void? Right? And I don't just say this because of the transits. It's like, I have a lot of planets in Scorpio. I've been having this experience, and I'm like, why do I eat when I get bored? Or like, why do I feel like I need to like go shopping to like, fill up free time? Like, what else could I be doing with that time or those resources, and how can I be more resourceful with what I have, which is teaching me to be present and like make sure that I'm enjoying what I'm doing instead of buying something, creating something. That's been like a big turning point for me, especially with food. That's been something that I've been like learning. That's like, okay, how can I be resourceful with what I have? Sure, I can go and get it, but if I'm making it, you know, I'm less likely to eat something all the time if I'm focusing on making it. Just food for thought. That might be helpful for some of you guys. Or rearranging your wardrobe, going through what it is that you have instead of buying something new every single time you go out. It's like, how can I create or curate a wardrobe of something that's going to kind of last the test of time? It's going to be something that is timeless. It's not just about fashionable trends and things that are constantly being filtered out, but timeless pieces that you can hold on to that are more natural. They're not synthetic. So sure, we can go and get a cheap fake leather jacket. It's not going to run a lot of money. It's going to fall apart. It's probably horrible for the environment. Or we could get something that is going to be, whether you're pro or against leather, that's not, come on, it's Taurus, cows. But what we're investing in, that's going to be quality, and it's also going to feel good, and it's going to be comfortable, and it's going to last a long time. I think we're going to start looking, especially when it comes to like the fashion industry, what is comfortable, what is practical, what can we use in our day-to-day? Are we just wearing things and buying things because they have designer labels, right? So just some things to think about. I think a lot of us are going to be also focusing on either invoking or working on finding ways to bring back the love and the intimacy in long-term romantic partnerships, right? So this can be about pleasure with a partner. This can be about becoming more comfortable in our bodies so that way we're also feeling like we can share that with another person. Massage, aromatherapy, anything like that can be really wonderful. Flowers, these are all themes that deal with Venus and Taurus. And artistic rituals in which the pleasure and the senses are being indulged. Right? So it can be lighting all the, incense and the natural beeswax candles and like having the organic honey. Like these are all like very Venusian things. So if you're feeling inclined to have the sweetness, opt for the sweetness that comes naturally this week, if at all possible. Now, if you're into working with herbs, something that you can work with, that's these herbs are associated with Taurus, sage, rose, thyme, mugwort, nettles. These are all things that can be connected to that placement. I love, like for Taurus, anything related also to like cedar or patchouli. So if you like essential oils, that can be wonderful as well. Patchouli has a really strong connection to Taurus. I love that. So for more information, check out my Venus conjunct Uranus video if you want to see more in regards to Venus's transits and the aspects that she's going to be making this week. It's been out for a couple days. Now let's go ahead and get into the astrology for the week. So we're going to start with today, June 12th. Well, not too much going on here, although certainly there has been some fixed square action. Moon in conjunction to the South Node in Scorpio, releasing, clearing out, letting go of anything toxic, anything emotional, anything in relation to fear. Now, this is a little uncomfortable because the moon is in opposition to Mercury, so we're having a difficult time communicating. As I'm filming this video, I keep losing my voice, so now it's making sense because I'm like, where's my voice going? Moon in opposition to Mercury is a difficult time expressing our feelings or getting the words out. So there is some kind of breakdown. There's also been a square to Saturn as well. So to some extent, it feels like a little banged up on Sunday morning. So if that's how your morning has gone, it's going to clear out a little bit once we see the moon go into Sagittarius. So the moon will actually move into Sagittarius later today, and it's going to be nice because as the moon starts entering into Sag, it'll begin a trine to Jupiter in Aries, and we're going to start seeing a little bit more action, motivation. We're also building into the full moon, so as soon as the moon goes into Sagittarius, we're going to, over the next like 48 hours, see that increase of just energy. Everything's going to be a little bit louder than usual. Now tomorrow we're going to see on the 13th, Mercury enters back into the sign of Gemini. So it'll be nice. I'm so glad to see Mercury back in Gemini. No more squares to Saturn. Communication is going to get a little bit easier. We're a couple days away really from leaving the shadow period. So hopefully you guys are feeling things moving a little bit more smoothly when it comes to travel, communication, processing things, signing things, meetings. Everything shapes up a little bit better. And then we're also going to be seeing that on the, let's see, on the 14th, the full moon in Sag. Full moon in Sag at 23 degrees. We got the sun in Gemini and the moon in Sagittarius. It's close to the galactic center point. Certainly there's going to be like this real strong kind of connection that we have to the cosmos, downloading information, channeling information. But that is a black hole. So there can also be this feeling of like, oh my goodness, everything is being consumed. Watch for what's going on in the world. I'm anticipating lots going on in regards to travel advisories, wild weather, legal stuff going on in the news, and the squares to Neptune I'm not too fond of. Like I said, both Pluto and also Neptune are sitting in some very prominent midpoint degrees also that talk a lot about having to kind of face the past and getting to a point where when we're sick of our own behavior, we can't make any excuses any longer. We can't blame it on other things. We can't blame it on Neptune. So Neptune's going to be dissolving wherever Pisces is in your chart, helping break that down so that way we can really kind of crack wide open and become more aware of not just our beliefs, but how we're integrating that into our faith. So there can be a little bit of a crisis of faith. 23 degrees of the mutable signs are going to feel this the most. Let's say 22 to about 24, 25. So if you happen to be a Gemini, a Virgo, a Sag, or a Pisces, sun, moon, or rising, you're going to feel that crunch. If you want predictions for where it's taking place in your chart and also some tarot, check out the video that I did on the full moon in Sag. It's out, y'all. This is going to be a significant full moon. You know, storylines are changing. We're shifting into a new storyline, a new paradigm. We're going to be finding that, like I said, Neptune is dissolving anything that stands in the way of being able to see the bigger picture and not just see it, but no longer make excuses and actually start believing in it. So I feel like it's kind of different than what I've seen other people talking about in terms of this full moon. Everybody's like, oh, it's super positive. And I'm like, no, everybody's going to have to be confronting their issues, right? Their problems, where they're getting all consumed or they're getting lost, or where we have a tendency to be like super dogmatic in our belief system and like unwilling to kind of separate from what we've always known or always believed. So check that video out. On the 15th, moon moves into Capricorn. We're going to see that the moon will come into a square with both Jupiter and Mars in Aries and Chiron. Mars and Chiron are also in conjunction the 14th and the 15th, obviously addressing wounds relating to the self, where we might kind of feel like we're being cast aside a little bit. It's been interesting to see Uranus and Venus conjunct. So there was this kind of like rising up of like feminine energy. There is this rebelliousness also going on with femininity. And then we see Mars coming into conjunction with Chiron. So it's talking about like the wound of the masculine energy and like where being too aggressive or too direct sometimes like actually ends up hurting ourselves. So I did a video on that as well. So if you guys want me to go deeper into that, check that video out. Try to get these out ahead of time for you guys. Sometimes it sounds a little repetitive, but it's like, I don't know about you, but I start feeling, you know, the transits 4, 5, 6 days ahead of time. So that way when they hit, you're like, okay, I had on my calendar for today, you know, there's going to be like a little tiff with so-and-so at the office. But this has really been going on for the better part of like the last week. It's just really starting up the 14th and the 15th. It's going to get triggered though, because when the moon goes into Capricorn, not so comfortable. As it squares Chiron and Mars, I think we're going to be finding that we're triggered to react out of fear. Especially looking at that opposition from the moon in Capricorn to both Lilith and Ceres. So it's like reacting fearfully because we're afraid of what we're not going to have, what's not going to work, you know? So we want to watch out for the fear train. It can definitely be calling all of us to get on during this day and just bringing up some real reactionary kind of emotions. And moon in Capricorn obviously wants to get something done. But I'm really fixated on the 15th and also the 16th, y'all. 16th is wild. Some of the aspects that's going on here. I'm really looking at this post full moon fallout, moon coming into conjunction with Pluto, obviously really intense emotionally, but it's going to in conjunct, or I would say quincunx, the sun, right? So we don't always talk about these aspects, but it's trying to reconcile something. So it's like just after the full moon in Sag, when we've realized like, oh, I no longer believe this anymore. Moon comes into Capricorn, squares Mars, we take action, conjuncts Pluto, quincunx is the sun. It's like sun in Gemini goes, this is what I think, right? This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. Or this is what I'm talking about. And we're going to see that quincunx from Moon Pluto. It's trying to reconcile something. So it's basically trying to bring up the opportunity to communicate. I'm going to keep saying this over and over again, okay? When in doubt this week, communicate. Talk it out, write it out, have the meeting, call someone. Because in the background, I'm also looking at the sun in Gemini trine Saturn in Aquarius. So we're going to get further by kind of like meeting with other people, talking to other people, having like a soundboard. Call your friend, you know, have a sit down with a group of people, problem solve. So if that way something's not working or something's breaking down, right, Moon Pluto, then we have the ability to be able to kind of call on our networks and ask them how they can assist us. It's going to be a big day. Something might go on where there's like a lot of IT stuff going on. That's what I'm anticipating. People trying to problem solve and trying to like figure out how to fix something. And it will get solidified when the moon moves into Aquarius in conjunct Saturn. But this is an uncomfortable day. I'm not going to candy coat it. We also see the sun in Gemini come into a square with Neptune. So trines to Saturn, awesome. The square to Neptune, we can be feeling like a little bit unsure, a little timid. There can be a sense of like, ooh, I don't know, my energy levels are feeling lower, or I can't really see quite clearly. Mutable squares are saying, oh, things are changing. The storyline's changing, very similar to the full moon that we had in Sagittarius. Sag is about beliefs. Pisces is about integration of our faith, and Gemini is about how we relay that information. So to me, it kind of seems like coming off the heels of the full moon, the big pow might be after the full moon within 48 hours. And then we're trying to kind of play cleanup pretty much from the 16th through the 19th. While I do see there being some difficult energies, it's like when in doubt, I would say take a step back. Sun Neptune days aren't the best days to push your energy levels. It's not the best day to sign off on something if something's not clear, if you don't know. It's a day to really know how to spot a scam. You know, that kind of stuff can be coming up as well, especially when it comes to the media. It's like the fear porn is going to be alive and well during this period of time. And I would just say with the moon conjunct Pluto, collectively, we're all feeling that intensity and the need to kind of like strangle something and like tie it down. And we're going to be, I think, dealing with issues in regards to feeling restricted or feeling limited, right? Then on the next day, we're going to see on the 17th, the moon moves into Aquarius. Better day for communication. It's going to have a brief trine early in the morning to Mercury. You might even experience that the evening of the 16th. Moon trine Mercury is like, okay, let's get active. Let's talk about it. How can we problem solve, work some of this stuff out? And we still see the sun in a trine to Saturn. That I like. I feel like probably one of the more productive days of the entire week is probably most likely going to be the 18th and the 19th. 17th, 18th, and 19th. There's other transits going on at the end of the week, but if you're like, okay, I want to problem solve, I want to reconcile, I want to be able to get to the bigger picture of what's going on, 17th, 18th, 19th are great days, right? So continue communicating. When the moon moves further into Aquarius on the 18th, it will conjunct Saturn. So we are emotionally committed, right, to raising the vibrations. It can be hard when moon's conjunct Saturn. It's like, emotionally, we're kind of grinding the gears. But in spite of that, there's a release point still with that trine to the sun in Gemini. So 17th, 18th, 19th. What are we learning about being like, I need to speak up more, you know, I need to do my research. I need to, you know, go and look for an alternative news station. I need to sit down and read a book. You know, I need to hang out with friends. I can't be set back and upset by, you know, the chaos that's going on in the world. I need to focus on being able to clear things out. Element of air all the way. So smudging, chanting, chimes, bells, incense, anything like that that's going to help kind of work with that element to kind of get us communicating more. Breath work is awesome also when you're having all of these air trines. But if you happen to be, you know, a Gemini, Libra, or an Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, these are awesome days also for just kind of seeing things, you know, coming together very like naturally, right? But I think globally we're going to see this in the world as well. What I'm not wild about on the 18th is that this is when we're really beginning to feel the Venus square Saturn. So this is important, right? Because Venus rules the North Node. Venus is so happy in Taurus, but Venus is hanging out not only in a square to Saturn, which can represent delays with resources and with relationships, not feeling totally fulfilled, our personal values not resonating with collective values, what setbacks or limitations or things that are going on in the world are affecting our ability to feel safe and secure, right? That North Node in Taurus is trying to teach us how to grow our own food. It's trying to teach us how to make our own clothes. It's trying to teach us the beauty and the resourcefulness of getting back down to basics, right? Very simple. So as we start to see or hear things coming out in the world, which we're going to hear this week, especially later in the week, about shortages, delays, issues with shipping, importing, exporting. I know that's been a theme, but we're going to really hear it big time, most likely at the end of the week. It's reinforcing that whole, okay, well, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to be able to become more resourceful? A lot of that depends on where it is in your chart. I'm going to tell you, so just hold on for a second. I'll get to all the 12 signs. And, as the Venus square Saturn wasn't enough because the North Node is in Venus, the North Node is in Taurus, the moon is really, it's going to amplify that. And collectively, everybody's going to feel that kind of cutback and that limitation, right? So watch for that. Still, though, in the background, we are going to see that also, that moon square Venus is bringing up this theme of like, I'm not relating well to other people, right? I'm not socializing well with other people. I'm not getting on well with my romantic partner. So if you're feeling a little bit of that friction in the air, once again, Saturn in Aquarius is like the friend that you go out to dinner with. It's the friend that you call. It's the network of people that you reach out to if you're looking for a new job. Like, it is kind of reminding you, you can find security, but it's going to come under the guise of having to kind of A, raise your vibration, and B, going out there and joining like-minded people so that way you can elevate, right? And the fact that, the moon is also in a trine to the sun, it's saying we have some sense of our actions and our emotions that are in alignment. They're free flowing. So it's funny, it's not funny for Venus charts, but when you start to see Venus come into the square, that bang up, that hang up, that delay, that uncomfortable conversation, that breakup, whatever, is actually reinforcing that moon Saturn trine the sun that's saying, like, we got to do something different. We got to switch it up a little bit, right? Then on the 19th, we're going to see Venus come into a sextile with Neptune in Pisces. So it's actually kind of hanging out later on the 18th. You'll feel it the 18th into the 19th. It's a small aspect. It's going to be short, but Venus with that sextile to Neptune is still dissolving things. So it's basically saying, at least for me, it's kind of like, don't worry, Spirit's got your back. Like, things are falling apart right now, or it might seem like it, but this kind of needs to happen, and it's important to bring your attention to prayer or meditation or releasing, bathing, being in water, staying hydrated, letting things go. Venus-Neptune sextiles are very sociable and they're very pleasant in nature, so I feel like it is giving us the opportunity to, if we do have that falling out with a friend, if we aren't really getting along with a partner and we need some time away, being in nature, being by water, being in the beach, taking time alone to meditate, rest, nap, anything in regards also to vibrations. I think of like binaural beats or being able to play a guitar, play an instrument, something like that, sound baths, that's going to help you kind of rebalance your energy. And we have the sun coming into the late degrees of Gemini. So what we will see next week, it's going to happen somewhere around I think the late hours of the 20th or the early hours of the 21st. It will be the summer solstice. The sun moves into Cancer, and that will be, at least here in the northern hemisphere, it's going to be summer solstice. In other parts of the world, you guys are experiencing your winter. And that's actually something that I did as a talk for the Midheaven podcast. So Mike and I actually just recently sat down and we cast the chart for the summer solstice. We talked a little bit about it. That's probably something that I'm going to do next week, actually. And I'll kind of do something similar to what we did. And I want to talk to you guys about how it's so important, because it's going to be like the marker of showing us what the next 3 months is going to be about, What's so interesting, I'll give you guys a preview, is that when the sun is at 0 degrees of Cancer, the moon is going to be at 3 degrees of Aries, okay? So Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon's conjunct Jupiter, so it's big emotional feelings, super feisty, really, really passionate, and it's going to immediately square the sun. That is going to materialize an incredibly busy summertime here, okay? The next 3 months is just going to be like all about our personal independence, what we're believing in, our personal rights, our personal philosophies, and how we are taking action to stand up and protect or fight for our emotional security, our home, right? Our peace. So actually, instead of being confrontational, we want to be really adamant about being warriors for peace. It's like, nope, that's going to disrupt my peace. That's going to be a hard pass for me, you know? And finding ways to peacefully handle situations rather than reacting, because that moon square Jupiter, the moon conjunct Jupiter square the sun is like big emotions, big feelings. And it makes me feel like people are going to be very territorial, or they're going to be very emotional, or they're going to be very patriotic. That's another way this can go for the next couple of months. So we'll talk about that next week. But just know that the equinox is coming, the solstice is coming, summer solstice, which is going to be the marker. This is the halfway point basically through our annual year. But it is also going to be talking about what we are taking action in Cancer for the better part of the next month when it comes to our home base, our families, our roots, right? So we'll talk about that next week. Just know that that's going to be a reset. So when we have the equinoxes or the solstices, these energies all kind of rebalance for us, right? It happens at 0 degrees of all the cardinal signs. This is the world axis points. Often there are big global events that happen when we have ingresses here. Not every equinox or solstice, but in this case, because the moon and Jupiter are within 3 degrees of this ingress, best believe everybody is going to be feeling this really intense new energy. One other thing that I want to say that I did not mention that I'm just now catching is that Venus from the 19th and the 20th, Venus is crossing 26 degrees of Taurus, okay? This is where Mercury was retrograding. This is where we had an eclipse in November of 2021, mid-November. There was a Taurus eclipse here. It is conjunct Algol, so it does deal with losing one's head, freaking out about things, freaking out about money or resources or food. It does have connections with alcoholism. It does have connections, unfortunately, also with suicide. So as we see Venus reactivate this eclipse point, as we see Venus also go back and forth in polarity of the Scorpio eclipse that we just had, we are going to see reoccurring themes from the eclipses, which are financial. They're about survival. They're about the earth when it's in Taurus. But it's also going to be about greed, materialism, hoarding. Okay, so these are things that we're going to see. It will trine Pluto. So Venus trine Pluto is not a bad transit. It's deep, intense, passionate love connections. It's wonderful for strategizing, planning when it comes to resources and business. What I'm not wild about is that it's going to square Saturn, and I feel like there can be things that can come out in the world that are cooked up and orchestrated intentionally to get people to be afraid and buy things, right? And run out and take everything. It's kind of like the TP from 2020. So we're going to see this. I just want you guys to be aware that as it happens, do not fall into the pitfalls or the trappings of the Venus in the North Node, where there's this feeling that you're never going to have enough, because it doesn't matter how much you eat, how much you buy, what beauty procedures you do, what person you get. Romantically, when Venus is in that square to Saturn, it may not be fulfilling. It may not feel good. It may not actually be a part of raising our vibration. So a lot of us are going to realize that all of these very kind of Taurian things may not be necessary in order for us to evolve. You can't take everything with you, right? That's kind of the lesson. Saturn is the defining line. In traditional astrology, there was no Pluto. So Saturn was looked at as kind of like the boundary between Earth and the other side. So something that can come up for a lot of people is like, well, what can you take with you? Like when you do transcend, when you do pass, you're not gonna be able to take your car, you're not gonna be able to take your expensive watches and your jewels and your big houses and all these things, but what are you gonna leave behind? right? So that's the question. What kind of a legacy are you leaving behind? Are you going to say that you lived a life of lavish things and had all the finest food and all the richness? Or are you going to say, you know, I lived a really happy life. I promoted harmony. I promoted love. I tried to take care of the planet. I took care of animals. I created art. I made love. These are things that we are falling out of touch with. And unfortunately, we're going to continue to see setback after setback, delay, shortage after shortage, where it takes all the things away from us. And then we're left kind of sitting around going like, well, I don't have these things, so how do I find pleasure? Well, you're going to paint again. You're going to sculpt, right? You're going to focus on not just having sex, making love. You're going to focus on not just having valuable things, but having valuable experiences, having things in your life that are incredibly enriching. So rather than having this hit everybody sideways and the hard way, which could happen later this week, and then again later this summer, we can get into the practice of it now. So get into the habit of when people saying like, well, what are you doing? You know, really reflect on that. Really think about that. Are you just working? Everybody's like, oh, I'm just busy. You know, I'm so busy. That's like our normal reaction now. It's really strange to me. I'm just so busy, you know? And I've caught myself doing it, and I started thinking about it being like, I need to be able to say that I'm doing other things. So instead, when people ask like, well, how, you know, what are you working on? I'll be like, hanging out in the pool, you know, playing with the dog, like, you know, trying to figure out how to make a new dish, like learning more about making soap or floral arrangements, like things that I'm like, I really enjoy doing that. Not that I don't enjoy astrology and I don't enjoy doing this for a living. I do, but I have become really weird about wanting to be kind of pigeonholed into I am what I do, right? It's a lot of like reprogramming after living in Southern California for a long time. If you guys have lived there, if you do live there, you know that anytime you go to a social gathering, you meet anybody, somebody goes, what do you do for a living? And finally I just started like making stuff up. I'm like, I make balloon animals, you know? Like, and people would be like, seriously? Yeah, seriously. Because I didn't want to feel like I am what I do, because I feel like that does not define us. So as the North Node is moving further through the sign of Taurus, we're going to see much more emphasis and much more focus on Taurus-related things, right? Beauty, environmental issues, recharging our batteries, connecting in real life, anything also in regards to things that are natural. I know I keep saying that over and over again, but I think more people are going to be focusing on things that bring pleasure, like design, beauty, art. I think there's going to be a cultural renaissance. I think that we're going to see lots of creative outlets like start popping up for people. So we've become so ingrained, I think, with Pluto and Capricorn and just also capitalism in general. Everything has to have an end goal, right? Everything has to have like a purpose. It's like, well, how much money did you make? Nobody asked you like, how much did you enjoy that, right? We're getting into the habit of learning to do things because it brings us pleasure. Try to find ways to do that this week, okay? Please, I'm asking you nicely. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about where this is happening for each and every one of the 12 signs. Love this, my little piece of malachite. Put this on my desk. I just love the color, you know? That really rich emerald color, especially if you can find a piece that's like really reflective. I love that. I'm going to pull a card for each and every one of you guys, and I'm going to tell you where these Venus North Node transits are happening in your natal chart. Listen for your rising sign and then your sun and moon sign. This is for Western astrology. It is going to be whole sign. You can listen to your progressed if you resonate with that as well. I'm going to be working with the Ethereal Visions Tarot deck. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Well, Aries and Aries rising, this is taking place in your second house. So it's all going to be obviously about resources, but all of the different resources which you may have, everything from saving to spending. And it's going to be a really significant time for you to be thinking about building an empire, anything in relation to, bringing more resources in or starting new ventures, but it's got to be things that feel like you're enjoying it. It's got to be enjoyable. So it can't just be labor. It needs to be labors of love. The card that I got for you is the Eight of Cups. So you got to walk away to play, right? There needs to be a sense of you restructuring what your goals are. Probably the square to Saturn. Eight of Cups is like, okay, this doesn't serve me, I'm going somewhere else. So maybe there is a sense of you redefining what your value systems are and where you want to be spending your time or your resources. And there is a sense of you needing to leave certain things behind. I mean, you're in a brand new cycle. You've got Jupiter in your sign. Maybe you're realizing that you need to start doing new things or making money in a new way because the way that you have been doing it doesn't feel good and you're feeling like it's not serving you. For Taurus and Taurus rising, the North Node is going through your sign. Okay, so it's all about you. How do you feel? How do you feel about yourself? What do you value? Are you carving out enough time to be spending time alone? How do you feel in your skin? It can be a really creative time for you as well. So you might feel like there's these spurts of feeling really enamored by people or things, or just practicing radical self-love, okay? The card that I get for you is the Knight of Cups. That's a great card. It's about being romantic and wearing your heart on your sleeve and being really forthcoming about your emotions and how you're feeling and what you love. And you can be feeling like you're falling in love with someone. This can also be a moment where you're connecting with a water sign. So it can be a Cancer, a Scorpio, or a Pisces, somebody who comes in and they just kind of sweep you off your feet, or you could be the one who's doing this with other people. Self-love is so important though. So it's really important for you to be practicing a lot of that right now. So for Gemini and Gemini rising, this is the North Node Venus transit. It's going through your natal 12th house. It's all about your spiritual life, your belief system, and dreams, visions, or just feeling like really creatively inspired. There can be a sense of you reestablishing a relationship with Source, with your belief system, with the universe in general. So there can be a sense of you also getting really into like dream interpretation, otherworldly stuff, anything in regards to futuristic things as well. And you may find that you're in a period of time where you're just really working on either getting routine about your spiritual practice or maybe learning more about divination. That can be another way that this can play out for you also. The card that I get is the Emperor. So this is cool. This makes me feel like it's about feeling more secure in that you're taking charge, or that there is like a higher power, that there is something that has an influence in your life and the relationship that you have with it, and using that to help push you forward, right? It's interesting because you got Neptune in your natal 10th house right now. So there can be this sense of like, am I working in my purpose? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And like really get a handling on some of these things. The Emperor can also be talking about like solar deities or deities that are associated with Mars. So there might be some kind of like worship or something that's going on with some of those energies as well. This is a very masculine card. It's about taking care of business, handling things, and maybe it's about feeling more connected to, like I said, like a higher being to some extent. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. Well, you've got the North Node with Venus moving through your 11th house. This is all about friends, networks, fellowships. Perhaps maybe you're learning more about the kinds of friends that you'd like to have in your life, or you're learning more about leadership. I feel like it's possible for you to get more involved with like either financial networks or professional networks as well, and finding that you are becoming a part of a cause or becoming a part of a club or a group that is something that you really believe in, okay? The card that I get is the Fool. Taking chances, taking leaps, possibly trips and going places with people as well. The Fool is like, hey, I've never done this before, but here goes nothing, you know, like, and jumping into group initiatives and doing things that can be adventurous and a total clean start when it comes to your goals in life in general. The 11th house also deals with your goals. Then we've got Leo and Leo rising. You have got the North Node Venus conjunction happening in your 10th house. It's all about career, your talents in the world, climbing that ladder, getting to the top, becoming a boss, becoming a CEO, launching your own business maybe. And I think it's about facing your fears, about being in the spotlight and aligning with powerful people, believing that you are capable and that you can go the distance. The card that I get for you is the Ten of Pentacles. That's such a great card. I love that. This is about long-term professional and financial planning. This is about making goals 10 months, 10 years into the future. This is about setting a legacy, creating a business that might be in the family, or doing something that is going to be a long-standing career move, and finding your place at the top and finding abundance in the process. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. We've got North Node Venus hanging out in your 9th house. This is a really positive transit for you because it's in a fellow Earth sign. But this is all going to be about having faith, your philosophies or your belief changing, operating in a new belief system, questioning anything where you have felt limited, like breaking through that. It's about learning, so higher education, going to college, finishing degrees, and possibly traveling to places that you have not been before are kind of coming about. The 9th house is associated with the bigger picture. It's a positive house. So to have the North Node and Venus moving through there, maybe you're finding like the right career path. Maybe you're finding like the perfect college. Maybe you're finding that you want to go back to school and like learn a technical skill. That can be something else that can come up during this transit for you. The card that I get is the 3 of Cups. I'm wondering if this is about you going and like being around or being invited to go and like meet with people in other places. Being invited to go to parties in other places, celebrations, trips. 3 of Cups is literally about being able to find yourself with like-minded people and being able to celebrate a joyous occasion. 9th house deals with ceremonies. So some of you guys might be talking about getting married, going to weddings, going to engagement parties. It can also be about just going and celebrating life with other people and really feeling excited about having a lot of love around you. For Libra and Libra rising, you have got the North Node Venus moving through your natal 8th house. And this is a bit of a tricky house because we do deal with finances, relationships, debt, the relationships that you have to money, and how you are possibly building wealth. So you might be thinking about how do I bring in more? But in the meanwhile, you've got the South Node going through your 2nd house. So there is this sense of learning that in order for you to make wise financial decisions, you need the help of other people, whether it's accountants, tax professionals, somebody who can help manage your business, a business partnership, an investor. And it's about you bringing in more resources through others, whether that's a union, getting married. It can also be an inheritance. This cycle is all about you learning about the ties that you have with money and relationships. And it's about what's owed to you, believe it or not. The card that I got for you is Ace of Wands. That's wonderful, Libra. This is saying new beginnings when it comes to creative passion and sexual desire. The 8th house is a house that deals with sex, but it's like, it's not just having sex. It's like, what do I create? What do you do with that sexual energy? How are you bonding and getting closer to another person? What are you creating? Are you using that energy to create art? Are you using that to create new businesses? Are you really fired up and excited about being able to bring new stuff in? I feel like North Node Venus in your 8th house is about having sex that's more meaningful, and that it's going to be much more about a connection to another person. So the Ace of Wands can be saying it's bringing that in, or you're feeling that kind of coming up for you. Remember, Venus is your chart ruler, so it's a lot of sexual passion and desire going on for you right now. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, so you've got the North Node that is going through your 7th house. You've got the South Node going through your 1st house. A lot of you guys are still eliminating and moving through energies or behaviors that get you stuck, right? God bless you, Scorpio risings. But there is a sense with the eclipses happening in your sign that you are resisting change, or you're resisting kind of shedding of the skin. It's very important for you to be focusing on letting go of blocked energy, negative behaviors, resentments. You're going to be learning to accept things the way that they are and leaning into the possibility of new relationship possibilities in your future. So those of you guys who are single, really significant people can start showing up because of these transits. Those of you guys who are partnered, you're going to be learning that two is better than one, right? So if you have another person who can help work you through some of this stuff, yes, there's going to be some challenges. There's some growing pains. You'll see squares to Saturn in the 4th. So it says that you need to get on the same page with partnerships about where you're moving forward in a relationship, financially or physically. The squares to Saturn tells me that you're going to have a difference of opinion on where you live, how you run your home, or you might be meeting people who live in other places. For some Scorpio risings, it's finally saying goodbye to people and letting the past be in the past. But that's because you're finally eliminating anything that's keeping you stuck. So be open to these new people who are coming in and helping you build now. The card that I get is the Seven of Swords, which talks about, can you trust a person? Can you trust a situation? Can you trust yourself? Seven of Swords can be a card that comes up that's like leaving something behind, or not being aware that you didn't cover everything, or you didn't take care of everything. Sometimes this card does come up with uncovering some kind of hidden truth. And swords can be about communications that you have with a partner. So like somebody can get agitated and be like, this is what I need for pleasure. This is what I need for security. This is where I want to live, whatever. And the truth comes out. So you'll probably see this in the next week, that wherever the friction is, it's really going to help you get to the heart of the matter. And what you're learning is not to react. And that if your truth differs from another person's truth, for some of you guys, it could be going your own way. For Sag and Sag rising, you have got the North Node Venus conjunction happening in your natal 6th house. And it's all about health and wellness, right? It's all about getting on track and feeling like you're really prioritizing, making the time for the things that you want to do, whether that's meal prepping, going to the gym, walking the dog, focusing more on business, staying organized, things like that. The question is are you doing work that's aligned with your purpose? How do you feel in your body, right? What are you eating? And how is it possible to make healthier choices and decisions moving forward? The nice thing is Venus is going to help you do that. But I think that it's also got this sense of like friends that can help you, groups, networks, associations that can help you facilitate this. The card that I get is the Five of Swords. Well, if you've been feeling a little down, if you've been feeling like you're trying to connect with people and it's just not sticking, or maybe perhaps you're feeling like you've tried everything and nothing sticks, keep in mind, just because Venus is on the North Node of the 6th, it's about finding a routine that feels comfortable. The South Node in your 12th house right now can be bringing up like lots of like repressed trauma or repressed emotions that are creating negative daily patterns or habits that you're having a hard time letting go of. So Five of Swords is about laying your weapons down, no longer feeling like you need to be confrontational. Maybe if you've been dealing with anger or resentment, or you've been snippy or kind of short, you're realizing it's because finally like your schedule is catching up with you, and when you take time to rest, you're realizing there's a lot of things you have not processed. So there's a need to move through that and to process that. For Cap and Cap rising, we've got this North Node Venus conjunction in your 5th. Oh my goodness, so wonderful for creativity, so wonderful for sudden date nights and opportunities to meet people. But this is about playing, right? The North Node in your 5th house is about playing and creating art. It's also themes that deal with falling in love, launching your own business, parenthood, anything in regards to children. Sometimes performance comes in here. So some Cap risings are like, I'm having babies. Some Cap risings are telling me, oh, I'm doing a stand-up, you know, like workshop, and I'm learning how to be on stage, or I'm getting into theater, or I'm launching my own perfume business. These are all things that could be happening for some of you guys. And it's just really important to lean into the possibility of things going your way and sudden opportunities for luck and growth, okay? The card that I get is, oh, again, the Nine of Cups. Wonderful for romance. But this makes me wonder if some Capricorns are, you know, feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with someone. I'm in love with something. I love this new hobby. This can be an indication of children. It is possible. It can be that somebody comes into your life very quickly and like makes you feel like all of a sudden you have a purpose. Look for connections with water signs. That can be something that can be happening for you as well. But I feel like you're just really like, I just need to show the world what I'm creating and how I'm feeling. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, so this North Node Venus conjunction is happening in your natal 4th house. And like, here's the deal. You're going to get hit from all angles. Saturn's on your sign. So there is the sense of like needing to have really strong personal boundaries, commitments to yourself, focusing on your body. There is a little breakdown going on in the work department, right? South node is in your 10th, and then we've got the North node in the 4th. So I'm not going to say it's not important to focus on your career, but that's not really the big main focus right now. The focus right now is what's going on in your home base. How do you feel at home? There can be a need to move around, have people move in with you, rearrange your living space. You can be also looking into the past, like your family patterns, where you come from, your heritage, learning more even about your genetics. And it's about making your home feel comfortable, supportive. Bring flowers in the home. Plant a garden, right? Focus on your kitchen. Reorganize your kitchen. Have dinner parties. I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but these are things that are going to make you feel more secure because your home is your sacred space. You need that so that way you can rest and recharge. All right. So the card that I get is the Five of Pentacles, difficult card. This is saying yeah, but where is home? You know, where can I find a place that's more affordable? How can I do that in a way that's not breaking the budget? I don't really know if I resonate with my family. This is about creating your own family. Uranus going through your 4th house is suddenly having your own space. Maybe you've gone through a separation. Maybe you finally moved out from roommates and you're finding yourself on your own. It's about not feeling like you need to have all the bells and whistles in your home. Yes, you can make it a comfortable space, but you are home. Home is where you find yourself. It's not a place. So even if you are moving and going through these changes, realize that it's about you making a home within yourself and not relying on other people. 5 of Coins can be feeling like you're kind of left out in the cold and feeling like you're disconnected from family in general or from your roots, but you're learning to redefine that for yourself. And last but not least, we've got Pisces. Pisces, this is a period of time where Venus and the North Node are meeting in your 3rd house. Can make for some very pretty words, some amazing opportunities for writing, for publishing, for poetry, but it can be also like learning a new skill, possibly doing something in regards to upgrading a vehicle or beautifying a vehicle, changing the color of a vehicle, getting something kind of flashy. But your words are very powerful right now, and it's important to be mindful of how you're using them and how you're wielding them. Keep an open mind, right, into anything that is going to be about your growth in general. You might be really drawn or inclined to tarot right now because you have that Uranus conjunction as well. And Uranus is your 12th house lord. This can also be about trying new things, going new places, going on road trips, or learning new languages, right? That could be something else. But I think a lot of you are going to be focusing on just realizing how powerful your words really are. The card that I get is the Well. So in this particular card, this deck, this deals with things like cycling out. So it's about kind of releasing and letting things go. It's kind of like the opposite, in my opinion, of the Wheel of Fortune. It does kind of saying well, how deep do your thoughts and your feelings go, right? How deep does your words go? How are you reflecting and really focusing on being able to pull all of these thoughts and these feelings, ideas out within yourself? It can also be a reminder that there can be pitfalls in obsessively thinking or obsessively needing to communicate, saying too much. Watch out for that square to Saturn. Maybe there can be a sense of just speaking to kind of feel like you need to fill the void or you need to fill the silence. Or maybe giving away too many details. That can be something else that's coming up during this time. You're not going to get lost in it. I do think it's about cycling things out. And I also feel like if there has been negative thought patterns or a tendency to kind of fall into worst case scenario, you're going to be replacing some of those thoughts or some of those ways of communicating with what if it works out? What if things go well? What if everything does come together, right? So it's helping you kind of restructure that and putting away, I think, patterns of just mentally going through circles, So in closing, focus on things that you love this week, guys, okay? Focus on creating more harmony, get back down to basics, spend time out in nature, lean on crystals, lean on aromatherapy. Bach essences can be wonderful as well. Buy yourself some flowers, anything like that that's really going to be working with this element of Venus, but don't feel like you have to have all the things, right? Don't feel like you have to have all the things. Let me know Where is this transit happening for you? Are you a Taurus sun, moon, or rising? Is it happening on a significant part of your chart? How is it influencing your value system and how you look? I'd be really curious. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys. Just a couple things for the week ahead. We're going to be doing live tarot this Saturday, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So you can join my memberships if you would like to be one of the first few people to get a reading. The live shows are getting longer and longer. They're like 2-3 hours long now. So if you don't want to wait in line, consider joining memberships. You're going to get the first of the list, and you'll get a reading from me once a month. So if you want me to read your tarot cards, I will see you on Saturday. We're going to have more videos coming out this week. We're going to be doing some stuff, obviously, on Tuesday, Thursday. I'm trying to stick to my Tuesday, Thursday routine. I'm going to start, oh my gosh, working on horoscopes pretty soon. I can't believe it's June. Like, where did the first half of this month go? Besides that, check out my website, beyondtheveiltarot.com, if you'd like to schedule a session with me one-on-one. I'm booking in August. I'm usually booked out anywhere from like 4 to 10 weeks at a time. So if you would like to get a reading for your birthday, or if you'd like to gift a reading, do consider checking out my website. And don't forget to watch my podcast that I have with the Midheaven podcast that I do with the Peace Stealer. Every Monday we have a new video that comes out. We talk all about the most significant transits that are going on in the world. A little bit of drinks, a little bit of comedy, but for the most part, it's a nice reprieve from some of like the more kind of technical astrology stuff. So if you want some laughs, check that out as well. While you're on my website, please sign up for my newsletter. I'm getting ready to launch some new courses. We're going to be packaging and selling Astro 101. So if you missed it, if you want to learn astrology with me, you can do that. And we're going to be getting ready to release a schedule for webinars and courses for the rest of the year. So I'm just waiting till Venus trine Saturn, or Mercury trine Saturn, one of the two. When these transits start happening, I'm going to release that out so I feel like I can really commit to those schedules. But I definitely have some new stuff coming out for you guys, and I'm excited to share my plans for the rest of this year. Thank you guys so much for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, your shares. Sharing is caring. It helps the channel grow. We've seen so many new people in the comments and also the live readings. It's really awesome to see people from all over the world who are tuning in and creating a little bit of like a mini astro community. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see you very soon. Take care.